and I try to get a few deals going, but it is working. Like the texts are going through. I am talking to people. The process is happening. Might have some stuff that might work out, but I'm just going through. I got about 5,000, a list of 5,000 people. I'm probably 1,400 through it so far, and I'm just trying to see what I can dig up.
Yeah, I used REI Reply before I used Launch Control. Launch Control's 500 a month. REI Replies about 100 a month.
Yep.
And you just have to be careful how you craft your prompts.
Yeah. So I know all about the spam words. I could take somebody through it. I know all about the spin tax. There's 3 different texts that they send out. They're 3 to 7 days apart. At this point, there's so many spam words which I compare to the 30 words you couldn't say on TV at one point.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that you're subject to the initial text going out, to the restriction in the words. You're also subject to any subsequent text talking to the leads. So when you're talking to these people, you literally have to keep looking back at the list, and you end up like you're speaking in code. And the words that I've found that don't violate the spam word list is liquidate your lot. Those 3 are, you can say those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Can we discuss? Do you want to discuss liquidating your lot? But you can't say property. You can't say sell. You can't say buy. There's a whole I constantly look back at the list to know if I'm violating it or not. The way that you get kicked off is by using those words or by sending texts out to numbers that are bad. Those
Yeah.
are the 2 things, and I haven't gotten kicked off yet.
Yeah. We had pretty good luck with REI Reply and Launch Control. We did deals. And then I just got cautious just because it was so regulated. So I probably haven't used it for 7 months or so.
So I'll tell you, it was a really interesting experiment because I initially bought this list a year ago from Alicia. She helped, was part of the what I bought from her. And so when I originally sent all the paper mail out, like out of the 5,000 in Florida, I think I got 18 like returns, or it was not much. It was, but all these people who ignored the paper mailings are now texting back at a much higher rate. The
Yeah.
return is.
Maybe it's just a convenience deal. People are living with their phone in their hand, so they get it and they engage.
There's much more engagement from texting than there was from the paper mail in Florida.
Yeah.
It's probably different in different parts of the country.
How about Juan? Juan, are you guys texting? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we use launch control, and we have the restrictions more than anything else on templates. So the original email, the original text has a lot of restrictions, and if we do anything with the drip or something that is recurring, there's restrictions. But if it's a one-on-one reply text, I don't think there's restrictions.
I think there is. I was told that there was.
But it allows us to return. We can type whatever we want.
Of course. But I was told by people at REI Reply that even when I'm talking with the lead on that number, that line, that the words you can't say on TV still apply, the spam words list.
Didn't George Carlin have say like 7 words you couldn't say? Something like that.
He went through all of them. And the spam word list is like 2.5 pages long.
Wow.
I know.
Launch control is very strict about everything. And we get flagged, and the flag, if we type something that doesn't allow it, just won't let it go through, but only with initial and the drip ones. But the other ones, so far, we've been able, we don't exaggerate. It's more like a personal thing. Oh, I see that you responded, blah, blah, blah. We're not putting something too, I guess, dangerous. But as far as we know, they said that if it's a one-on-one, and they already established a response.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you send a text one time and they don't reply to you, you can't text them again until after 30 days. And then it's another typical restricted one. But as soon as they respond, oh yeah, send me the offer, then I think all bets are off.
Or anything that they respond. If they say that it's fair game as soon as they respond to your initial text. The way that Launch Control does have it set up, though, you do have the ability to do like quick replies so that you're not typing out every time. But those function as templates, so those have the prohibited words where you cannot save them. So anything that is meant to be push the button and it pushes out, they won't let you use those prohibited words. But according to them, anytime they respond, it's fair game. You can have a pretty much a conversation. And
So
we've knock on wood, we've had good luck with them. And we like launch control because of that, because they tend to be a little on the stricter side because
Of course.
they have those guardrails there.
I might switch over at some point. The difference with REI reply and launch control is that with REI reply, the system is set up. If they don't reply, it's going to hit them again in 3 days. So that's different in that way, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
launch
that's
control
service.
doesn't let you do that. If you have, let's say, multiple numbers, they do wait 24 hours before they go on to the next number unless you verify it or they've opted out somehow. But they do not let you reach out to that person again until 30 days after.
That's a really interesting difference, and I'm glad that we're talking about it because I didn't know. With REI reply, the way it really works down, it really works overall, is that they start with, say I do 100 a day, so you start with 100, and then if only 12 people reply, most of it stop, obviously, or pass, and then you say you have 88. Of those 88, they'll get the next message in 3 days, and then there'll be more stops, and it actually says, "Did you get my message?" People hate that. And then after that, there'll be another 7 days. So
Okay.
it works a little bit differently. We'll see.
And then you guys use multiple phone numbers, correct? And they rotate, and then the syntax rotates.
I haven't yet. I've just used one 940
wow.
number. I think if you're texting a lot of people, I think you get into a certain amount per number. It gets to be a more complicated, layered thing. The biggest thing is that you start to do the math after a while that the repeats for REI reply, I guess not launch control, but for the repeats, there's a limit of 250 texts per day initially, where so you're sending out your 100 per day, but there's going to be the repeats of the ones you haven't written back. So you can see how, if you map it out and think about the math, there can be some days where repeats might fall on the same as initial days if you're doing 100 per day. It gets to be a tangled web if you are not minding the store, you know.
Yeah, launch control gives you 600, I believe, a day for like the basic plan, which is what we had when we first started, and we just upgraded and we're at 1200 a day. And you're right, that also includes for those people that have the multiple numbers, so they'll already put those in the queue, so those count towards that minimum or that maximum, sorry, the 600 or the 1200 depending on what plan you're at.
The daily max, yeah.
Yeah.
And how about the economics? Because I think the base with REI reply, it was 50, or maybe it's 100 now, and launch control is 500. But I guess
Yeah.
you can go up from there.
REI reply is probably the most cost-effective solution I found, and that's why I've been on it. It's a $99 flat per month membership, and then the actual texting is like a fraction of a cent per text. So I have it set up so that it pulls in $10 increments, and you might be spending 10 or 20 bucks a week if you're doing 100 a day. It's manageable if you're starting off.
Yeah, REI definitely. I think they use Twilio for their text, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. There's another one called Smarter Contact that I've been hearing a lot about lately.
Mm-hmm.
Similar in some senses to launch control. The reason why we started with launch control, and by the way, if you ever change, make sure you ask about specials,
Yeah.
because you buy one, get another month, or buy two, get three type of thing. And we did that twice. We did it. That's why we're not in the 20,000 a month. And we're gonna ask again before we renew, because 500 bucks a month, when you start comparing to REI where we could pay, let's say 200 or 250, it makes you think. But at the end of the day, we also look at convenience of, if we're already used to doing something, all it takes is one deal a year to make up for the 250
Difference.
extra a month. But Smarter Contact, what I wanted to mention is that we were very tempted going there more than anything else, because they say they give you multiple phone numbers. So you can have a phone number from this area code, another one from this one, another one from this one. So not only when you text, but when you call, you can still use those numbers to call. So they recognize you. And that to me is a biggie because launch control is only text and it's only one number. We have a 727 number. So sometimes we have to text, by the way, I'm calling you from my direct line.
Oh,
Yeah.
So they know what's going on.
Yeah. So REI reply has been updated. You now can do that. You can have more than one number, and you can call them. I've gotten calls on my 940 number, so maybe that's something that they've increased or they've added more recently. But it can do that now, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a big
so Gordon,
advantage.
are you using just the text right now?
Yeah, right now, because the paper mail was already sent out. So I'm just working off that list and texting people. I want to get Sly broadcasts going and start doing some ringless voicemails, because I think one of the best strategies is a lot of people will work the list at the same time with doing ringless voicemails for the 88 people who didn't even respond.
It's a challenge sometimes to keep up with all the tools. And skip tracing, Gordon told me about cyberbackgroundchecks.com, and I think your message was it's a new flavor of the month. I try to keep up with the tools and with data tree and PropStream and land portal and
Priced and yeah,
all the tools. It's a challenge.
it is. There's always more stuff. There's land insights now. That's a new market selection thing that I'm hearing about a lot. There's
I
always
heard
something
about
new.
them. I heard about them a lot to analyze and the whole thing, but you're right. And on top of that, you throw the AI and then you become hooked on another thing. Now I have to wake up instead of at 5 in the morning, at 3 in the morning, so I can spend 3 extra hours playing around with tools before I get to work. But what was that website? Cyber what?
Cyber background checks. It's very similar to People Finder and White Pages and Spokeo. That was another one for a long time. Spokeo.
Yeah.
It's all individuals, no cost skip tracers is what it is.
And
Are they really for free though? Because every
Yeah.
time I go
Yeah.
to one of these free things, after 2 hours of the little thing going around, it says, give me
They
your card.
always ask you to upgrade. They're always looking to make the money. And I actually, for one of my jobs, I was always in Spokeo and People Finder, and it took me a little bit longer to find what I needed sometimes because they wouldn't allow us, or they wouldn't my company would not upgrade and pay for it.
It's free. It's free.
yeah, they'll try
Yeah, no, it is free, but I think if you want even
more.
deeper information, then you do have to pay for it.
Yeah, I use cyber background checks, and then they get in there and they upsold me to their parent company, Truth Finder.
Yeah, that was another one.
Yeah, that gives you more information. But as soon as I sign up for those, I put a note on my phone because it was a 2-month deal, cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's so many tools.
Yeah.
I try to become familiar with them, but sometimes once you get your system, you keep getting stuck chasing something new.
Yeah.
True.
Too many toys.
That's it exactly. Too many toys.
Speaking of that, I just signed up for, and I think Juan, you guys use Land Portal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just signed up. Somehow I got in touch with the Apke brothers and we did a couple of Zooms, and then they gave me a free trial. I signed up for it this morning. Oh, and so I've just been going through the tutorials, playing around with it, but part of it is it's real good at identifying potential subdivides.
Yeah.
Because you can get your road frontage and what have you. Anyway, and it's month to month. So, we'll see.
So if you get the free trial, I don't know which free trial they gave you, but the free trial from them, you don't get a lot of stuff. So when you can't do something is because it's probably the trial one. But anytime I can show you right now, if we have a chance to show you one of the properties I want to do, because now they added one more thing, two things. MLS, which is
and comps.
hidden, what is it? Hit or miss type of thing. And now they added another one, which is the AI comp. And so far, I'm just praying that their numbers are better than mine because I have a few properties to sell. But again, it's one of those things that you have to only use it as a tool without losing your base.
I mean, you can go ahead and share your screen, but I tried the comps this morning, and when I talked to them, they said so many people were on it, I could never get it to pull up a report.
Let me show you real quick, okay?
Yeah.
And this I was doing a public record. Let me click. This is the cyber that I was playing around with. For example, let's go ahead and let's look at a property that I bought. Let's say this one here in Marion County. So this is a Airtable, by the way. So here I have, when I click that, what I do is I save the link. That way I don't have to waste time every time, and it takes me directly to where it is. So this is the one that is for sale. It's probably going to go to the MLS in the next couple of days. And here where it says AI, I click on it. I put comp report, send request. It's an AI, so it basically takes a few seconds. Then I go to comp reports down here.
Right.
And there it is. So their estimate, actually, this is pretty much on spot, by the way. We have it for $24,900, and of course we're willing to negotiate. So this is more or less I would think is a very good
Realistic.
snapshot of the price. So that's and then you can show it on the map, and this is like it gives you the slope as well. But in Florida, I don't think that's a big deal anyways.
Not too critical.
Yeah. So
did you just run that now, or is that one you previously ran?
No, I just run it now.
Oh,
if
wow.
you want to give me an address, if you have an address, I can check it out right now for you, just to see how it works.
Yeah. How about 3807?
Hold on a second. Let me go ahead and duplicate this just so I can show something. All right. Address. Go ahead.
3807 West, just W, West Mallory, Mallory. That's in Pensacola, Escambia.
Cambia. Okay. Yeah. So here, I'll tell you a little bit of what I do. I make sure that I'm in the right one. So I like to do this and click it again. And here on the left-hand side, it gives you a little bit about parcel information.
Yeah.
Owner information.
We sold this property to those people right there on your screen.
To these people?
Yeah, they're behind on their taxes. I tried to buy it back from them, but they wouldn't sell it.
Okay. So here it gives you some information. Then here, we use this a lot before we even call them to find out if there's flood plains. When you click FEMA floodplain, just a tip, do this with a screen. Because sometimes when you click it, it doesn't recognize it until you move the screen a little bit.
Okay.
And then wetlands, and of course, you can go like this just to make sure that it's there. But it looks like Escambia doesn't have anything of wetlands or zoning or flood zone. You can play with other stuff here. And then let's get to what we were looking for. We go here, AI, comp report, send request. And then I go to reports. And Mallory Street gives you the address right here, property details, and estimated price, 24. This price estimated is what he thinks the market price is to be able to sell. So I don't know if this is more or less
I sold it to them 2.5 years ago for $15,900, so it could be reasonable.
Look at the average price zip code per acre. 111, 111,
Oh, wow.
11.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Angel
Again.
numbers.
Angel numbers. Oh, and I forgot to scroll down. And sometimes they have a kind of like a comparative market analysis type of thing. And then they, not for nothing, but I'm a little, if the numbers are in 10%, good, is pretty impressive. Like in 2 seconds, this computer, the AI is unbelievable. So yeah, that's that. And then what I also do is I like to, let me go back to the show and map. You can download it in a PDF and the whole thing. But one thing for subdivides, what's great is that when you filter, you can filter by, it says landlocked. It also recognizes I would say 80% of the time, because I found some landlocks that are not recognized. But you see where it says road frontage, it gives it to you. So when you filter, if you were searching for something in a particular state, etc., it allows you to go ahead and say, I want landlocked, yes or no. So you can choose road frontage from this amount to this amount, and it would only import or show you those filters. So I think this is one of the most used feature probably for people subdivide. And the other thing is FEMA coverage. You don't want anything probably over 30% FEMA, right? So sometimes you can put, show me anything that is under 30%. So it's like your philosophy, Michael. If you have 5,000 list and you want to bring it to 4,000 or 3,000, which has more frontage, less FEMA, and no landlock, the 5,000 could become 4,000 type of thing. So that's
Yeah, good. I put a couple hours into it. I just need to do a little refresher and just got my official account today.
cool. Today, actually, I went from the $29 a month to the $59 a month because the 29 doesn't have the comps. And I was just too curious because we don't use Low and we don't use MLS. And those are the two upgrades that they have. But when I saw comps, I got excited. So we're going to try it this month and see how similar it is with ours.
Yeah, good.
So, yeah. Can I take advantage? My wife had a question that we use IDI like you recommended. And we remembered you because of Pebble. So we might add Pebble to our kind of like our world in the next month or two because we wanted to send a few letters last week and we have to send 500 in one shot if we use Rocket Mail. So we might be joining, but you had a question, right?
Yeah, so in part of our text campaign, we did get somebody back that apparently they took care of, I assume, a neighbor or friend or what have you. Person passed away about 10 years ago. Property owes a lot of taxes because obviously the person has been deceased for about 10 years. So we did the IDI core to see if they had any heirs, and it only has one sibling, so we wanted to reach out to them. But I know this seems a little bit more up your alley, so wanted to see any tips on. We wanted to do a letter more than a text, just to make it a little maybe more personable, or hopefully increase the chance that we get something back. But yeah, any tips on how to approach that, what to include in the letter?
I'm gonna grab something.
That you're deceased, so.
Hang on.
It's Dahlia Joe. Yeah.
Okay.
So when we do the one-offs, I'll use these, bright orange envelope, huge stamps on it. And my writing is so sloppy, Lisa will just take a yellow pad and write it specifically to the situation. But sometimes if we are going to do more of them and we use a yellow pad, we'll go ahead and write the same letter, but we'll leave the name blank and the address blank. And so we can get yellow paper and put it on the copy machine and then just use a blue pen that's the same color and fill it in. So it looks like it's handwritten, but it's not.
Got it.
And then we'll talk about, we just sent one to, a gentleman. He used Pebble. I sent him a copy of a postcard with the actual dollar amount on there. He accepted it over the phone and then he just disappeared. So Mr. Weatherspoon's, I think 85 or so. And so to get him to respond, that's what we did. We used the orange envelope, we hand wrote it, and we gave him an offer price. We just said out of good faith, we're going to increase it $1,000. And I said, this offer expires, I think, Saturday, May 7th. And so in a situation like that, we'll do the kind of the one-offs and try to do that, or use IDI Core. Another thing that I'll do in IDI Core, you put in the owner's name and you'll get the relatives, but sometimes I'll put in the owner's last address. Don't search by name, search by address. And a lot of times when I search by address, I'll find someone with the same name as the owner at that address. So just a different way of just manipulating the information.
So basically, you use Pebble for your typical 5 mailers daily type of thing, but
Yeah.
if you find something too specific, you do your own handwritten type of thing.
Especially, it may be someone, they're elderly, and then they're going to get something like this, and it increases your odds substantially. And I'll see with the one we sent and he agreed verbally, there's a $15,000 profit in there. It's very easy property to sell. And so that one, let's just send him a handwritten letter. So I've got 250 of these orange envelopes and those stamps, but just use them. And a lot of times for elderly people, it looks more like it's a little more personalized.
Got it. So you're in the right track then, doing it.
Yeah.
In your course, I don't know if have you gotten into the documents?
Yeah, I went into the documents. Do you have a sample that you specifically send out to in these particular situations, or is it just your general one that, maybe?
Yeah, the one in there, and I probably should update it, but I try to make it, we're not ABC Land Company. We're buying 3 properties in the next month in your area. It just says, we are Lisa and Michael Robertson. We've lived in Pensacola for 15 years and I market to Pensacola, and we are looking for a vacant lot, and what you have looks like something that we'd be interested in. Would you consider entertaining an offer? It's a little more personal. It's very non-threatening, and it's not, we're buying 1,000 properties.
Got it.
So I had one deal that it may fall through today, and I did a post on it, and the guy agreed on our price. I already have it sold to the next door neighbor because I'm out at the property and the next door neighbor comes out. And so we already they want to buy it. And now he's just being quiet on me. So I wrote him a text message through Pebble. And I said, my offer expires today. I'm just not going to play the game with the guy. They're $3,000 behind on the taxes. The guy needs to sell it. Then I found it on Redfin listed, and he won't get what he has on Redfin. At this point in my life, I just don't want to play the games with people, and I don't want to babysit it forever and ever. And so I just sent it to him. I said, and this was 2 days ago, I said, our offer expires on Wednesday. Basically, take it or leave it. And if he comes back to me, I'm going to even go lower.
Yeah. I want to see if other people have questions. If not, that we can always talk about. I don't know if.
Yeah, whatever.
I wanted to ask you, are you familiar with Marion County tax delinquent situation, or in Marion County specific, or no?
I know that I've been in the appraiser's website. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, no.
Yeah. The reason is because I've called them 3 times, but it almost feels that every time I called, they want to kind of brush me off the phone without really answering my question. And I see a lot of in the history, tax deed, but it keeps accumulating. So sometimes it says tax deed, sometimes it says certificate. And some people owe, the other day we saw somebody that owed $9,000 in taxes. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want that property, because that means that probably nobody wants to even try to sell it because the taxes are probably worth more than the property. But my question was, why I thought tax deed could only be one, but I see tax deed in multiple years. Are you familiar with that scenario or no?
Yeah. A lot of times what happens, more of a amateur person will buy a property at a tax deed sale 6 years ago. And now they've got the property and they don't pay the taxes on it. And so it will go to tax deed sale again. And that guy doesn't pay it. But when I see properties that are 3, 4, 5 years behind on the taxes, the person that bought that certificate at the county can tell the county to sell the property. But a lot of times what happens is the person that bought that certificate, the property turns out to be a really junky property, or the person that bought the certificate didn't research for liens. So when I find properties that are 5 or 6 years behind, the certificate people did not tell the county to sell the property, probably because they discovered something after they bought the certificate that it just wasn't worth going through the process. But I do see, and speaking of tax deed sales, you can go and pull a list of people that bought properties at tax deed sales. And when I do that, I go back at least 4 years, because without going through another expense, you can't get a warranty deed until the people that bought it at the tax deed sale for at least 4 years. If I lose my property at a tax deed sale, I have 4 years to come back and reclaim that property. So if I want to search people, go ahead. So anyway, if I was to not pay my taxes and someone bought it at the tax deed sale 2 years ago, I can go back and get that property back. But if you buy a property at a tax deed sale, you can go through a process, a quiet title action. There's another company that will do that, and they'll get the title cleared up for you. And it'll cost between $1,500 and about $3,000. But a list you could build, you could sort by people that have bought properties at tax deed sales at least 4 years ago, and that you could approach them to buy it from them. Maybe you just give them a little profit.
You know what I've noticed on that end, because we've bought a tax deed property, and we, instead of the quiet title, we did a certificate of something that the title companies accept. But I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this, at least Paul County, Marion County, Charlotte County, all of these counties, in my opinion, they're selling the properties in tax deed market price. And I'm like, why not just go to Redfin and buy it directly to the seller? There's something that I'm missing or something that I don't understand,
No.
because
Yeah, I'm registered to bid on properties in Escambia County. They have my deposit and what have you. So I went through the first live auction and I bid on a couple, and I found that people were paying market price.
Yep.
And you can maybe turn that around and turn that into a buyer's list. Find out people that are buying at tax deed sales and say,
That's what we're
I've got this property, and that you can look at the information, see that they're paying market price. You can build a buyer's list.
Yep, that's actually what we're actually doing as we speak. We're doing a buyer's list in Charlotte County because we have 2 lots there. And I say, if they're willing to pay market, might as well get a warranty deed for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was going to be one of our questions as well. Do you have another one, or was that? Yeah,
That's a good way. You can go in, depending on the county, and find people that bought properties at tax deed sales over 5 years ago, and maybe they live out of state. Now they bought this property at a tax deed sale. They're not professional. And you could probably sort on certain data sources that they own 2 properties or less. They're not people that own hundreds of properties. They're the amateur people. And now they bought this property tax deed sale. I think it'd be a good list where people are likely to.
Yep, I agree. I'll let you know how that goes, because it just makes sense. I feel like calling them and saying, hey, if you're in the market of buying.
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen for 1 sec.
Escambia County Appraiser's Office is almost like having your private MLS
I know. They
system.
should train all the other counties in Florida to have the same system.
But I'm searching. I'm going back from 9 years ago to 4 years ago. Sales price from 1,000 to 20,000, vacant land where people bought it at tax deed sale. And sometimes my county works and sometimes it doesn't. Here's 233 people that bought it at a tax deed sale. Some of them might not still own it, but we'll just click on a few examples here. And so, yeah, they bought it at a tax deed sale in 2017. And then it was quit claimed and quit claimed. And I could follow the history through here and see who bought it and who sold it. But this guy lives in Atlanta. And you could put it in a spreadsheet, it'd be quicker. But ideally, if they bought it at a tax deed sale, and this is a different family here. But if I go back to, so, it'd be going through and seeing, okay, they bought it, do they still own it? So we'll come up here, we'll do a few more, a little bit recent. Here's Beach Haven right here. See that this guy, so the people that bought it at the tax, this would be a good example. The people that bought it at the tax deed sale for $4,200, they turned around and they liquidated it for $8,000. But the people that bought it at the tax deed sale still don't own it, but we'll see if we can find another one here. Tax deed sale for $7,500 and sold it for $92,000. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that would be another way you could build a tax deed sale list. It's a little bit more manual. And yeah, this property just sold and sold 7,200, 35,000, 48,000. What I'm really trying to find is one that the people still own it. Okay, this guy bought it at the tax deed sale 4 years ago. He still owns it. He lives in Pensacola also, but that might be a good person to approach because he probably bought it very low, $8,100. It's assessed at $7,000, so it's probably worth 15 or so. It's got road access. And then just look for sales real quick. So this is a sniper approach. Here's one that sold for 15,000 there. Here's one that sold for 15,000 here. So a quick guess would be that this probably sell for 15,000, and this guy paid $8,100 for it. And then I just look at his taxes. But that would be an example. It'd be even better if they lived out of the area. But in this list here, there's probably a couple deals in here. It'd be a good task. You could go ahead and download the information, but it might be a good task for a VA to go through pretty quick and see, show me which ones the people still own. So this guy bought it at a tax deed sale for $8,800. I don't know, 9 years ago. He's local, but it's probably worth $50,000.
Michael, are you able to figure out, so if someone paid the taxes on a piece of property, are you able to figure out who paid the taxes on it? If there were back due, if there were taxes that were owed?
Probably, but not necessarily. But if we click on just a record here and look at these guys' taxes, if there's taxes due on this property, anybody can pay those taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if there was a way that you could find out who paid the taxes on it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I believe you can see if you're paid, but this guy bought it at a tax deed sale. And now it's weird. He paid 2024, but he hasn't paid 2023. But that would be an example. So it's just prospecting. And that's what I try to do, is find out who are the people that are most likely going to sell. And this is just another example of a list. If they bought it at a tax deed sale over 4 years ago, if they're maybe a mom and pop, they're not professional, a lot of times they're just going to want this guy subsequently sold it probably, but he bought it for $4,100. That would be an example that you could get a property below market. Or if you wanted to, you could take this list here. And what I do, the county website does this to me. I'm trying to sort by the recent dates. We'll do this. see if I can rerun this list. So now here's people messed up. Oh. I'm trying to find who's bought in the last year now. And since mostly they're paying market value, here's a list of 27 people that have bought recently. And these could be potential buyers for you.
Yeah, I was asking because I know of a real estate property and the person who owned it died about 10 years ago. There was a lot of taxes that was owed on it. And I think a state attorney was able to find a next of kin. And I went online to see how much the taxes were because I was going to go ahead and pay them myself. And then when I talked to the state attorney, he said it's been paid up. So I don't know if the next of kin paid it or if somebody else paid it. What I was trying to find.
Yeah, what I'd probably do is run a tool like IDI Core, put in the deceased person's name, find the relative, and I would just call one of the relatives.
I've got the relative's name and his phone number, and I've talked to him before, but I was just hoping I could figure it out without having to call him and ask him.
I don't know, Juan, do you know? I don't think that the county's going to disclose who paid the taxes.
Okay.
I'm curious, what would be what is there a particular reason that you want to know if somebody else or they paid for it, if they're delinquent regardless?
Yeah.
Or?
Because right now it's going through probate, or the attorney that they have, next of kin, has a daughter-in-law who's an attorney, and they're going to take it through probate. So she told me to call her at the end of May. I want to be in a better position to decide how or what I'm going to offer them, because it needs a lot of work, It needs a total gut, and there's some pipes and electric stuff that's going to have to be redone also, because the ceiling in the bathroom is bowing down. There's one whole wall in the bathroom that needs to be replaced. It really needs a lot of work, and so I'm trying to figure out
Let me give you some advice. Maybe the county would not tell you specifically who purchased it, but if he wasn't the owner, it's probably going to say certificate. So maybe if you see certificate is when other people pay and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but normally when somebody else tax gets beaten out, because there's tax deed auction and there's a certificate or tax payment auction. So if somebody else paid for it, the county should show something that says certificate, and then you know that somebody else paid the taxes because the owner didn't pay for it.
like when I look it up on
You
the
can also go into, depending on the county, like some are better than others. You may be able to go into each tax bill and see if there is something. Because, for example, I'm just going off of memory. I think Polk County will tell you on its face, like, paid by X whatever. So I don't know that it'll give you all the information, but at least it might give you a name. So it may take a little bit of digging, but you might, it might be hit or miss is the point.
That's
Okay.
kind of part of what we do is we're detectives, basically. There's a problem and we're trying to solve the problem and being a detective with the information.
I'm curious. So I heard her say that you'd go ahead and pay the taxes. What would be the advantage of paying the taxes on a property unsolicited, unless you're buying a certificate?
Because right now, so if I paid the taxes on it, the property is paid off. So if I paid the taxes on it, of course, it has to go through probate first. I might have to purchase it from the next of kin, but I can also say, hey, there's a lien on it. I would be holding the lien, saying, even if you don't sell me this property, you've got to reimburse me plus interest because I paid the taxes on it.
I don't think so.
Just be careful with that, because I don't think that's quite how it works. If you had perhaps maybe the certificate, even
Yeah.
still, what you're getting is your money back for that certificate, but not necessarily a claim to the property until like time passes, etc. So before you really invest that money, you may want to research that a little
But
bit more.
wait, if the taxes are not paid and I go in and I pay the taxes, then doesn't a lien go on the property? So
No,
they owe me?
Yeah, no.
No.
No, the only
If you pay
thing
those
that
taxes, they might just say, thanks for paying my taxes. You
Yeah,
have-
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
thank you. That's a
Yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
normally the state's trying to get the most they can get or whatever. So usually those things go up for auction, and the only time you can just like walk up to the counter and pay the taxes is if it's gone through an auction or two back in the hopper because nobody bought it. You might be able to just walk up and say, hey, here's the PIN number. I wanna pay the tax on this, and you're still gonna wait for the redemption period before you can redeem the property. And then in that case, you probably get a certificate that entitles you to interest, and they
So,
have to pay you back. But if you just walk up and say, here's the PIN number, here's the amount they owe, they'll say thank you very much, but it entitles you to nothing.
okay,
Yeah.
but, okay, so then, but if it's gone to auction though, and then I pay the taxes there.
Yeah, if you win it in the auction, yeah, they owe
Yeah.
you they owe you that plus interest.
Yeah.
But
Right,
that's a crapshoot. You'd have to be the high bidder
Yeah.
or the low bidder
Yeah.
interest
If-
rate wise.
If the property didn't sell at the auction, there's typically reasons, so you have to be very careful. And if it doesn't sell
Yeah.
at the auction, it goes back to the county and you can walk in. It's called an over-the-counter sale.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
go in and you write a check for the $4,000 or whatever it is. And the county, I've only done one. Went in, did all my homework because there's no guarantee with title or liens or anything. Wrote the check
Right.
for $4,000. They put the property in my name right there. I immediately sold it to a builder for $16,000.
Okay, so basically what I was talking about then is the auction thing. So
Okay.
going to auction,
Yeah.
if I
It ha-
win the bid, then I pay the taxes, then I've got a lien on it, then they've got to pay me back. That's what I was trying to find out. Did the next of kin pay it? Because I don't think that the next of kin even knew this person. So I'm
Well,
wondering,
then that means they probably won it at the auction then.
so that's
right?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did somebody else pay it at an auction, or did the next
So
of kin
did
pay it? That's what I'm.
so I just want to make sure that you're not gonna spend money on something that you may not be able to get back. So
I'm not spending any money at all,
Okay,
trying to
good,
get
good.
information on
Yeah,
who
I-
paid it, because it is paid, but I'm just trying to get
Right.
information on who paid it. And I want that
So I think
information so I can
question
know
is
how I can,
where-
hold on a second. I want that information so I can know how I can structure my offer. Because
Mhm.
if he paid it, he's probably gonna want at least that money back, plus some. If somebody else wanted it in an auction, I want to know how much that was, because then if I get the property, more than likely the way that it works out, he's going to want more than enough to pay that off and get some.
I think my question for you is this: what stage is the property in? Because they can be delinquent on taxes and then just have an outstanding bill, and the property owner can pay that, or in this case, maybe somebody else did that. If they're delinquent in taxes, then there's a different step where they sell certificates. The county's just really trying to get their money, and people can
Right.
buy those certificates, they get the interest, and after a certain amount of time, they can force a sale at an auction.
I understand all of that. I'm
If
trying
they
to
get
find
to the
out
auction, then it's fair game for whoever wants to get into the auction and
exactly,
buy it
and
at
that's
the
what I'm trying
auction.
to figure out right now. So
Right.
when I did get in touch with the state attorney, he did tell me that the taxes are now all paid up. So I don't know if it went to auction and somebody paid it up from auction, or if the next of kin paid it.
Yeah, and in Cook County, Illinois, at least, they do show you who bought it. You know, who you would owe your lien to. There's also a 2-year redemption period. And in your case, is further complicated by the property being in probate. So from your perspective, there is nobody to buy the property from yet until the probate is done.
Exactly. Unless we go to Al Nicoletti, but it's different state.
What
Well,
county are
Yeah,
we,
is this Florida?
what county are we talking about?
This is Suffolk County. And in Suffolk
So,
County, they
so
don't
is
go
New
by,
York?
they don't go by county. They go by, or in Massachusetts, they don't go by county, they go
Oh,
by
in
city.
Massachusetts. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
then forget everything I just said.
It's a very
So
weird structure. I actually saw a little, not table, but a little tree. Basically, if there is no will, then how it goes through your family. And at first it goes down and then it goes up and then it goes sideways. But yeah, it took them quite a while to find the next.
this could be a good exercise for a deep research in ChatGPT. And I'm not just
Yeah,
saying that. I'm saying
yeah.
if you put, because it's so specific, Massachusetts, this is the information, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, Michael, I don't know if you know this, they increased from 10 deep research a month to 30 deep
Oh.
researches.
No, I actually did a couple deep researches today.
If you hover over where it says deep research, now you're going to find, because one day I woke up and I was holding back, right? I was holding back because I only had 5. And then when I put my hover the mouse over it, it was like, you have 25
Oh,
deep
no,
research.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
so what qualifies as deep research as opposed to just a regular ChatGPT question?
Probably
Where does it
about
cross
10
the
minutes
line?
worth of, imagine one is like from the waist, right? It gives you the answer right away based
Mhm.
on typical information. The other one, it would actually go to 50 different websites that you specifically say, go to legit sources, go on my, it's something that I know that you guys have been putting something that you don't know about something. I run and my feet have been feeling numb for the last couple of years and no doctors have been able to do anything. So I did a complete deep research on that end. And I said, go to WebMD, go to legit sources, go
Right.
to writings from doctors. And it took about 10, 15 minutes to do the whole thing. But once it's there, it's like talking to somebody because you can ask specific questions and you can upload your medical blood exams, your medical exams, and everything. And it would literally go through everything and organize it so you can get information from real data
So at,
instead of just Google.
so at that point, you don't, when you do the prompts, you don't know whether it's going to be a deep research until it's taken too long and says, oh, this is probably going to be a deep research.
You choose in
Yeah.
the bottom,
Choose deep research. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
you
it'd be
click
like
deep research.
a regular one would be like reading Reader's Digest, and the deep research would be like reading 100 encyclopedias.
But it's an upfront choice, is what you're saying. You go down the deep research channel and then ask your question, as opposed to just going into the regular chat box.
If you
And-
pay for it, if you pay for it. You
Yeah.
know what, Juan? I did the same exact thing with the results of my MRI for my knee. And I was even able to upload the image, not
Nice.
just the report. And it
Uh,
did tell me, I was like, tell me what this means, as if you're talking to somebody in junior high. And it was like,
yeah, it's
it told me
crazy.
everything. And I was like, so I do have a meniscus tear. And I was like, that's why it's been hurting so bad. And I'm a runner too. I haven't been able to run since October because of this.
Yeah, and this is one of those side questions. What causes the numb feet? I've got one on my right foot is numb.
Oh, by the way, before that, you see what Michael did there? He went hover over it. Now it says
Yeah.
24 available until May something.
Yeah.
So until May 30th. So it looks like you started today.
Yeah, today I ran one earlier today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder why it says 24 instead of 29, but you never know. But it's better than 10. To answer your question, Evie, after probably a day of me reading everything, what is it called? What? My thing?
Neuropathy.
Neuropathy.
But there's a bunch of types of neuropathies, and he has the one that has no known source of neuropathy. So it's one of those big question marks that there is no origin for his neuropathy. It just showed up and now it's there. And
But
Yeah, I self-diagnosed, and I think it turns out that my socks are squeezing the tips of my toes too tightly on my right foot. Because my right foot is like a size to a half size shorter than my left, so I buy shoes for the left foot, of course. But when I run, my foot slides in the right foot, and it pulls my sock back, and so that squeezes all the blood out of the tips of my toes. So
Wow.
If
that,
ChatGPT finds that out, it
no,
will
I
be
had to
very
figure that out.
impressive.
I had to
Since
figure
we're
that
on
out.
the topic of running and feet, I will say that I also had some foot problems back a few years ago. And one of the things that has made a world of difference is custom orthotics from my
Yep.
podiatrist. It was the best. I've had them for about 5 years, but it was the best $150 I've ever spent because they literally put like a cast on your foot to like mold them. And
Yeah.
like it was very impressive. I had no idea that this even existed, but it has made a world of difference. So I
Yeah.
now go off and tell people to look into that if that's an option, especially
Yeah,
because you don't realize
I
that
got
you
a
don't
couple
have
sets.
even things on your feet.
And I apologize, Michael, for taking this off on this whole side
all good, all
topic.
good. It's all good. Yeah, just
Other
put all your
orthotics?
medical history in ChatGPT year after year, and it can.
Yeah.
You.
But
It's
it's
not a
real.
joke.
Orthotics soft?
It's true. It's real.
Are-
Go ahead.
Are your orthotics soft or are they the hard ones?
They're hard. It didn't really take that much getting used to them. Like my daughter got some over the counter ones that the podiatrist also suggested for her, and they're squishy. These are like almost like a shoe if you think
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it. Like they have a little heel because that's how it has to even out my
Oh,
feet.
wow.
And I mean, the neat part is that once you put them in your mostly sneakers, because I'm like, oh, can I use these for all types
Yeah.
of shoes? But obviously they don't work for high heels or
Yeah,
anything like that.
I've got
But they're amazing.
150
I
is
think they're
cheap.
great.
150 is cheap. My podiatrist charged me like $750. Yeah, that's what I
Wow.
said. No, it wasn't me. They charged the insurance company. But I don't think it was worth that much. But yeah, and mine
My-
are hard. Mine are hard.
My sister and my mom had to each pay 300, but this was a while back, and I just got the over-the-counter ones, and I had them for 20 years, and they broke. Same ones for 20, but they really help. If I don't wear them, my feet and my toes cramp up. So I went back to that same store. They were like, yeah, we don't have these anymore. So I had to buy a different pair, and they do make some for like high heels, not high heels, but dress shoes. So I bought 2 pairs, so one for
Oh.
each.
Well,
But you're right.
tonight we're going to talk about diet and exercise, and it's only $199.
But I think the tangent kind of came in figuring out the capabilities of ChatGPT deep research.
It's
So
all good.
It's legitimate.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It is. If I can suggest you guys something, whenever I really want something very specific from ChatGPT and I really want to cover your behind type of thing, I get articles like, for example, either the IRS or some accounting website or something that I can trust. And I actually get the articles themselves, which sometimes IRS publications could be 50 pages or an IRS code could be 100, etc. And then you dump it into ChatGPT and you tell it only answer me based on the information that I've uploaded. That way you close the loop on the research and it doesn't go out on the website or anywhere else. And then to be more anal about it, ask what page, what paragraph, or what section did you find that answer? And then you go to the legit resource and highlight it. And now you have documented a research type of thing.
I love that because I have been steered wrong by several CPAs on tax treatment of certain real estate transaction and get 3 years down the line before I was told by a more educated person, oh, that's way wrong. And I had to go back and revise taxes and I ended up paying a penalty because they told me the wrong thing to do.
Yep.
I like having ChatGPT as my personal expert.
Yeah, I always say get 90% of it. You have to know a little bit before you get the answer because sometimes it makes mistakes, like everything. And I love what Michael Robertson's guest said. I can't remember his name. The kid that was doing the AI.
Yeah, Rick Sheldon.
The best thing that I like that he says, he tells ChatGPT, no fluff, no BS, give it to me direct, straight, because ChatGPT talks to you in a way that it always agrees with you. And psychologically, we end up believing what a computer is telling us. And it gets biased, right? And subjective. So you need to make sure it's always objective, because if you're going to base a decision based on that, Actually, I'm not making this up. One of I have my little research things that I like to do daily, and one of them is everything about probate. So one of my deep research is going to be to learn absolutely everything I can about probate. So at least when I talk to people, I'm like in the zone type of thing. Not that I'm going to be doing the probate, not that I'm going to be telling the attorney what to do, but at least know if it's even worth the second conversation when somebody talks to me.
I think we covered it. But
Yeah, no,
anyway,
it's great. Thanks,
if you
Michael.
guys have any last questions, otherwise I'll be back in 3.5 hours. We covered everything from everything. We covered it. All right. I'll be back in 3.5 hours.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.